This is my Barbie car. I think this looks like something Barbie would drive.
With its shiny maroon color and tan leather interior, Jill Ringer calls her sporty 2001 BMW convertible the most fun car she's ever owned. But in an effort to cut back,
I'm done paying 2 car payments.
Jill decided it was time to sell. She ventured into cyberspace, listing it on Craigslist, an online classified ad site, and Auto Trader.
There's my car right here.
It wasn't long before a man emailed her asking basic questions like what the mileage was.
A week later, he's like, oh, my client is now interested in buying your car. Congratulations. I thought it was very easy. I was happy. I'm an optimist, so I was very hopeful that it was going to happen.
The man wrote that the car would need to be shipped to his client in England. Jill says at first everything seemed legitimate, and she thought she was going to sell her car quickly. But about a week and a half into the negotiations, she says something didn't seem right.
Probably when I did not receive a phone call, and then he did email me like 5 days later and say that the money is on its way. Well, I then assumed that it would probably be a registered letter or something that could be traced on his end. And then it came in an envelope without a return address, and it looked like an 8-year-old wrote the envelope. And then I knew something was just drastically wrong.
Inside that envelope, another troubling discovery. Jill found this cashier's check written for $23,250, a substantial amount over the price of the car.
It was from Global Ministries, and there was no address. And then the cashier's check was from a bank in Arkansas.
In an email, the so-called buyer agent said $16,750 was for the car. An additional $6,500 was to pay for shipping the BMW overseas. The agent instructed Jill to wire the extra money to the shipper, as well as to an agent responsible for picking up the car. It was all one big red flag to Jill.
Why would a complete stranger send me a check for more than what I was selling the car for? So, why wouldn't he spend the $20 to wire that money specifically to these people that were going to ship the car overseas?
She stopped corresponding with the man. Jill says she hasn't heard from him since. The buyer agent is from England. Okay,
yeah,
you're here in Virginia.
Yes.
The bank that the check is written from is in Arkansas.
Absolutely.
And the letter's postmarked from Spain.
Absolutely, and I'm supposed to send the card to Georgia. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
It is. It's very ludicrous. It really is.
Wow, but it's also kind of scary, too.
It is. It's like they just wanted to confuse me, and it would be impossible for me to track them down.
And tough for law enforcement, too. Jill went online again and discovered that she almost fell prey to what's known as a check overpayment scam. The so-called buyer or agent has a reason for writing a check for more than the purchase price and tells the seller to wire the difference after the check is deposited. The counterfeit check later bounces, potentially leaving the seller out thousands of dollars and, in this case, an expensive car. Jill's experience is by no means an isolated one. The Federal Trade Commission, the Consumer Protection Agency of the U.S., says check overpayment scams continue to be a problem for both consumers and law enforcement agencies.
We see a whole variety of large purchases where the bad guys are using check overpayment schemes as a way of making money and also getting information about your bank account from you.
FTC attorney Lisa Hone says scammers can easily fool consumers with checks made with today's high-tech equipment.
It's impossible for consumers to tell what's a legitimate check and what's not. And I'm talking personal check, cashier's check, business check.
So how can you avoid being scammed? The FTC offers the following advice. First, know who you're dealing with. Second, don't accept a check for more than your selling price, no matter how tempting. Consider an alternative method of payment, like an escrow service or online payment service that you suggest. If you accept payment by check, ask for a check drawn on a local bank or a bank with a local branch. If the buyer or agent insists that you wire back funds, end the transaction immediately. Resist any pressure to act now.
Because the last thing you want is to not have that item and not have the money that you thought you were getting for it.
That almost happened to Jill Ringer. Although she still hasn't sold her car, she's grateful it and her money didn't end up in the wrong hands.
I'm just thankful that God did protect me and give me wisdom.
And wisdom to pass along to others. Mark Martin, CBN News.